So during a recent internal audit, please be mindful that looking at these, there is the possibility that there is a lot more. This is not everything. But there were 146 easily identified unauthorized transactions, possibly more once they're further investigated. There are multiple Amazon transactions that were not purchased with the city's business Amazon account. And again, some of these are easily identified, others require more investigation. Easily identified ones are the 12 transactions to Reflex MD totaling $5,674. And during a really quick, easy search online, I found that Reflex MD is a GLP-1 provider. That is not a city transaction, not for city use. You will see.
How many for that one?
12. You will see the dates and each individual amount for the total of what there is there. Other unauthorized transactions that were utilities that are not related to the City of Campbell. There were 9 Verizon wireless transactions totaling $2,623.91. 9 Spectrum transactions totaling $1,992.83. 5 Shady Grove water transactions totaling $1,279.83. And just to give you a little bit of information, when I searched some things, these are not utilities that the city uses for any reason. I'll just leave it at that.
So they're personal.
Possibly. Example of some other suspected unauthorized transactions. There is a total of 29 transactions for a total of $11,259.20. I've highlighted a few that just gives you an understanding of what we're looking at. So Best Buy, Expedia, Southern Tire Mart, Aaron Tippin Live, Expedia.
Aaron Tippin Live, is that a concert?
I believe so. Then there is a judicial fine or fee from Pulaski Court. Some window tints. Super One Foods. There's several transactions for Super One Foods. Then Discount Tire, as well as America's Car Mart. Automatic Propane. America's Car Mart is a car dealership in Greenville. Automatic Propane, Leslie Pool Supply, and then there is a transaction to Hunt Memorial Hospital. There is also 6 transactions for a
That Car Mart was what, 1,320?
America's Car Mart is $1,323.20. Then there are 6 transactions to a Ram Fitness, which is a gym fitness center in Greenville, Texas. Those total up to $357 and some change. There are 70 transactions on the TikTok shop that total up to $5,414.59. I was able to fit all of these on the screen for you. That gives you a total of what they are. So in this internal audit, there, like I said in the beginning, there was 146 charges that I included in this presentation. Again, there is probably more once further investigation takes place. But just what I included in this presentation is a total of $28,860.60. Again, there are possibly a lot more upon further investigation. We do not want to limit it to just these ones that are easily identified. Again, like I said, there are a lot of transactions to Amazon.com, Walmart.com that there are no supporting documentation for, and they were not purchased on the city's Amazon account. Just to give you another quick example of some stuff. This right here is from October of 2023. This is what a credit card transaction normally looked like prior to me leaving back in 2023 and prior to any new turnover that took place at the city.
So it was just you and Robert?
Well, this is after I'm already gone, but before there was a new administration, new eyes on things, that sort of thing. So you'll see on here, even though I know it's not as easy to see, but it is mostly fuel transactions, post office transactions, all of the utility bills, people's telephone, TXU, and a few parts and maintenance transactions that you'll find. Then 1 year later, a year and 1 month later, this is the November of 2024 credit card statement. Man, I really wish we could get it on the screen because it looks so much better up there. But this will give you where the Pulaski court fine was paid, the TikTok transactions, there's several on this one. Spectrum was paid, TikTok, Academy Sports and Outdoors, the Reflex MD, as well as the fitness membership, TikTok shop transactions. And again, there are several ones on here to Lowe's and Amazon.
And the Reflex MD is that Ozempic shots or
So
what?
they were losing weight and working out,
Oh
apparently.
yeah, there's a gym on it.
And then this is the following month, and on this one there are more TikTok shop transactions, Amazon, Hobby Lobby, Pizza Hut.
What's the Hot Mart? Do you know?
Hot Mart, you'll see on this one when I turn this around. So there are, down at the bottom, there's a Hot Mart transaction that I highlighted. That is not my handwriting. It does say cancel dispute, but in all of the months that I looked at, there were absolutely no refunds for Hot Mart. Hot Mart, when I looked at it, was a website that helps digitalize your business. That's what it says. The City of Campbell is already online and out there for everybody, so I don't know why it would have to be digitalized anymore.
But wasn't there also one for opening up their own business?
That was on a credit card, that's not in one of the examples that I have here, but yes, there was one to zenbusiness.com for $300, multiple transactions to them, but that is for, to help you start your own LLC. And I gave you guys, last time I saw you, I think a copy of an LLC that was started.
Is the council allowed to entertain a question from the EDC?
Yes.
I have a question.
Is this from the EDC or from a public person?
From a citizen,
There you
but
go.
as a member of the EDC, I thought perhaps, I'm hearing this. What I'm not hearing, and I just have one direct question, are all these transactions from the same source, the same purchase card?
So the City of Campbell has one account, and then there are multiple cards that are on there. There is absolutely no way for us to determine what particular card made this transaction. Could the district attorney or other entities that investigate this further, can they reach out and contact and get more information? Absolutely, I'm sure that they could. There has to be some sort of individual identifying information that says this person used this card to make this
It was
transaction.
done with a P card, purchase card.
Correct.
That has a unique number for each person.
No, it has
No.
the same number.
Same
We can't get the unique numbers, we've tried.
Okay.
But what,
Wouldn't they have different PIN codes?
No.
There's no
So
PIN.
it's a credit card, there are no PIN numbers.
it's not a debit. It's a
And-
Like an additional user for the same account.
Right.
I
Correct.
understand that.
On this one from March of 2025, which would have been 2 months prior to the election. There is Verizon Wireless, TikTok Shop, America's Car Mart for $1,300, Automatic Propane for $504, the Ram Fitness, Reflex MD, TikTok Shop, Shady Grove Water Supply, and Verizon Wireless again. This is just a sample and an example of what was used to compile and make that presentation.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Did I hear that there was a business started on the credit card also?
Correct. There was a transaction to
to
Zen
Zen
Business.
Business.
Zen Business.
Yeah, okay.
But I think when she called, they said they can't tell you because you're not the,
Correct. I mean, they did tell me some information, but they would not give me any further information.
Is there a way to find out at Shady Grove whose account?
Absolutely.
I-
Absolutely, and
abs-
and that's not our job to go into that. We'll leave that up to the law enforcement to do their investigation.
That right there will tell you.
but are they really gonna prosecute these crooked people?
We haven't-
$1,000, I hope so.
Well, I
I-
just know
Well,
people
at
have
least that
embezzled
much, it
money
could be
before
more.
in the city of Campbell, and they ain't been held accountable like that.
We're gonna do everything we can to make sure that they're held accountable.
Because I think I know who you're talking about with this.
Personally, a very large amount of my time has gone into compiling this. I cannot tell you one way or the other who made these transactions. Obviously, we all have our own opinion on who did them and how they transpired, but again, I am not the judge, the jury, or anything in that matter. We'll leave that up to those people.
We'll work with our city attorney and get this turned over to the proper authorities.
I think he has a question.
Yes, sir?
Has this been turned over to the district attorney?
No, sir.
Is it going to be?
We're gonna work with our attorney and get it turned over, yes.
Are there copies of that available? Is it public record yet at this moment?
If you will put in a public information request form, we can get you copies of what the attorney will allow.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because it's still an open and pending investigation.
Yay!
I am not personally. If you want to bring up something that is in your
I
packet,
didn't mean to
you can, but I
point
am
you
not
out.
going to touch
Let me catch you up.
base on it.
We're
But
right
you
now
can
on
ask-
item 8,
You can ask
which
whatever
is
you'd
the
like. You can.
unauthorized charge possibility.
So question
And they
on
wanna
that.
know if we are gonna do anything
What
with
are
this
the voided
information.
checks? So they wrote a check, voided it, and then paid it on the credit card?
That's part of what the discussion is.
Is that what I was understanding on this part?
Correct. So the way that appeared in
Thank you, sir.
the supporting documentation that I had was that these credit card transactions were presented to council. A check was signed, a check was then voided, and the payments were made directly online.
Well, it wasn't presented to council, because I was on council, and they never brought that.
Okay, so, yes. Yes.
Okay. So they wrote the check, voided it, and then went and paid it on the credit card. Is that, I'm just trying to.
So the way that it works, yes, is the checks were presented, they were signed, and then those checks were voided, and online payments were made using the city's general and sewer account. So there were some members that did sign checks for the payments that were made, yes.
Is there a name on them checks that they were made out to?
The checks, all of the checks were made out to Card Service Center.
Sounds like they're funneling the money all through
Like I stated, the city council, has to discuss what we're gonna do moving forward. Work with our city attorney and take this to the appropriate.
I have a question though, but like when y'all use the cards now, cause I know at my company, we don't just, like if it's the fuel card, the fleet card, we don't just put the mileage in, we also have an employee number. I mean, when y'all use the card, can y'all not have it set up where like, let's say you have an employee number that's different from you or like from him? You know what I'm saying? So that way, like you know exactly who's charging it.
So
The card would automatically come up and you'd have to type in a 4-digit employee number.
the credit card is a pretty simple entity in all of that. But what happens is any transaction that is made, there is a receipt attached to it in the council packets. The last few months, I have been giving them copies of the credit card statements as well as a detailed list of what's on that statement. Everything outside of utility bills. I mean, a transaction made to TXU is a transaction made to TXU. But anything that Dylan uses for fuel, parts, maintenance, whatever it may be, he provides them with a detailed list, and there are receipts that match up to that. I cannot attest to what they did prior or how
Right.
those transactions were reported to council prior.
Right.
So for example, we have a requirement that you bring the receipts in and give them to the city secretary. I used the card today to get these packages printed.
Y'all not sign them, like we sign our receipts.
That's a good point. We
We
can,
do, I mean, we initial it at my company.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whoever-
we'll have to add that to an ordinance to where it's a requirement within
I mean, I don't
the
really
business
think
process. That's a
Any
good-
of y'all in here would, but I think.
Yeah, that's good.
That's all.
I think it's a great idea.
I can absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, our company deal, they make us like initial the receipt. Like if I went and got water on the fleet card or something, I still have to put in the employee number and, you know, our code, but you have to sign the receipt too, whoever used the card, because we're all authorized to use it. Does that make sense? 'Cause
Yes.
every one of us.
No, I just signed both of them.
And I mean,
Makes
and
total
that,
sense.
it does make in perfect sense.
I mean, I don't really think it's a problem with y'all though, you know what I'm
And,
saying?
and something that we've done, something that we've done to try to help eliminate this type of thing happening in the future, it's illegal to limit who can run for office or get elected to office. It can be family members, right? It can be husband and wife or father and daughter, or whatever you want to call it. I call it nepotism, but, but that's allowed in the state of Texas. But we did write we can't limit that, but we did write an ordinance that states if there are family members that get elected to the city council, they're not allowed to sign checks together. It has to be one and then somebody else that's not related. We're a small community, right? We're gonna have family members on the same council, you know?
But you can change that in your bylaws.
You cannot. The state of Texas does not allow you to change that. If they're voted in, they have a right to be voted in if they're,
Yeah, cause y'all's is a, city vote.
right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that's something we did. We passed that ordinance last month. But you don't see things until it's happened.
Right.
You know, you brought up a good point.
No,
Hindsight's
I
20/20.
completely but I'm just talking about for future, and I don't really see any of that going on with this crew, but yeah, the last crew was very questionable.
Is it the same signatures on every check?
Yes, and all of the checks that were presented to city council in the packets, it is the same two signatures on those voided checks, yes.
I think now, didn't we kind of rotate, does it?
Yeah, we seem to, yeah. I don't sign all of them, so that's good. It's good that we rotate it out. Everybody gets to take a view of what we're doing up here at city council. Checks and balance, right?
Cause you know I'm like.
Trust but verify.
What's this?
That's the goal.
What's it?
So what kind of action do we need to take on this, sir? Can you help me out there?
Well, the first thing we would want to do is, we can't necessarily take any action that's not through the sheriff's department.
Right.
So it would have to go all through the sheriff's department, and we have to give them what we have and
So do we need a motion to
submit it.
present this to the sheriff's department, or are we good?
No, I just think that it would be worth talking about, making sure that so moving forward, that we talk about, and that's something that we all wanna do, cause they could potentially wanna talk to members of city council, previous members, the current mayor, and probably obviously everybody.
Previous
Yeah,
administration.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I just
So
wanna-
this has to go through sheriff's department before it goes to DA?
Well, yeah, so the sheriff's gonna have to open up, and once the sheriff makes the report, they'll open up that file with,
Gotcha.
so, I mean, they're not, the district attorney isn't just gonna open up a file, cause we walk up with our evidence, it has to go through the process of the sheriff.
Do their
Just, hey,
investigation.
crime's been committed, here's.
Could we not have asked the sheriff to come up to the meeting though?
Well, you
Or
wouldn't
you,
do that.
or you go to the sheriff?
I think it would be better to go to the sheriff than try to
Yeah.
Well, everything I'll do.
blindside him here, right?
Well, no, I'm just asking.
Right, right.
You know,
Ken,
Yes, sir.
once y'all turn this over to the sheriff's office, wouldn't they be able to do more investigation?
Yeah.
See how much more money?
That's what they're.
Absolutely. That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
And usually on stuff like this, from my experience, what I've seen online, and that's just on my research, is the sheriff's office will get like the Texas Rangers involved with them.
Read about city, violations
So-
like this, they don't go to sheriff, they go to the DPS and also to,
Do a lot more.
The Texas Rangers.
Texas Rangers, they'll involve them, I'm sure. That's what normally happens.
yeah.
So-
So do we go straight to the Texas Rangers, or who do we go
No,
to
so this
first?
happened before, so we talked about this before with actually the sheriff, the district attorney, and, the Texas Rangers, and the district attorney said they wouldn't take, they wouldn't involve the Texas Rangers until it had gone through the appropriate channels. We already talked about this with the previous, with what Sandy had done. Cause we had said if there was something which we had suspected, we talked with Sandy, Sandy was involved with this, and he said, and then we
The
talked.
auditor?
Yeah, the auditor,
Yeah, that is over.
and then, yeah, and but because of that, we did end up talking with the district attorney, and it would need to go through the appropriate channels up until then. So you can't just you can't just request that the Texas Rangers look into something, it's kind of, has to go through step A, step B, and then to step C. And so it's not that they're opposed to getting involved, it's just that it has to make its way up to them appropriately.
How do you make sure they do it though?
It's one of those,
through the public integrity, right?
it's one of those entrusts, you have to just trust the process.
Yeah, cause I would like these people on the council.
So on the thing, it says discuss, consider, and act upon, so do we gotta vote to?
It just says consider action on it.
Discussion and
Not,
consider action.
It's just, yeah, because we
Oh.
don't, I don't think we had an action, because we can't act.
Oh, consider, it says, yeah. it says-
Discuss and consider.
Yeah,
I
I
just read it, yeah.
because we had talked about this having more transparency in the sense of what we found and bringing it to the law enforcement as opposed to before when we weren't sure and it went in
So
circles.
is this enough evidence?
That's even,
The up to them.
yeah, that's purely speculative. I can't say one way or the other.
So when can we bring all of our bills up here and get them paid for? That's all speculative.
There's a mailbox about 150 yards that way, you can put them in.
Yeah.
There's a mailbox about 150 yards that way, you can put them in.
Yeah.
Hey.
True.
good point.
No, just a joke.
No, and I do, I think part of the issue too is I, along with other members of here I know, and I'm sure members of the community are frustrated with how the forensic audit turned out. And so, along with this, I don't wanna have any false promises or what could potentially happen. The other issue though, and I'm not sure it's something we can consider, I don't even know how it looked, but I'd have to talk to Jay about this, potentially some civil action where the city tries to sue based off of this, because I mean, there's damages where money is stolen, and if there's damages, then one could potentially sue.
Sue to recoup our losses, or,
Yes.
or just for punishment for the crime?
No, so punishment Yeah, punishment is purely criminal, so it needs to be looked at it two different ways, criminal and then civil,
So we could do both.
potentially.
Potentially,
So
yeah.
who would we sue? I don't, I mean, I'm not asking
Well,
it specifically in names. Do we sue everybody involved?
You
Or-
can name all parties.
So it would come down to, who we,
Use the card.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Who law enforcement identifies,
right.
correct?
yeah, I mean,
The investigation will identify something.
so, and I will say that, I like in the OJ trial, the criminal is a lot more difficult, so even if criminal, they're not found guilty, there could be potentially still a civil lawsuit, so, which is probably better for the community anyways, to at least recoup some of those funds, whether or not there is criminal.
With a lower threshold of proof.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Do you think with all the other cities around that people are being arrested for unethical type actions, would that bring more heat onto something like this?
I don't know, I mean, it's tough to know how the district attorney of Hunt County is going to deal with it. It's just, like I said, there's a lot of speculative.
Right.
So,
Who is the district attorney?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's horrible.
So we don't have an action, have you discussed this, are y'all?
But
So we get everything
well,
together.
and I think one of the things too we wanted to talk about is that we do not have definitive in the sense of like, we can't go and say we know there's theft. We can't prove that. We just have a suspicion. This, basically, the evidence, even if the evidence is 99.9%, maybe there is an explanation for this that we don't see. And so, I can't imagine it, but what I'm saying is that,
I see what you're saying.
so, that's what,
It'd be up to the attorney general to decide that.
it would be up to the district attorney.
Okay.
And then technically, it would be up to, I guess, jury. A grand jury. if there
Jury of
wasn't-
your peers?
A grand jury if there wasn't an indictment. But,
So we're not doing nothing tonight?
no, we're just, whether or not,
But you and your boss is going to get on this, is what I'm
if
hearing?
this is, we would ask the sheriff and then the district attorney to open up a case, but we wanted to just see if this is something moving forward.
Is it what moving forward for?
Yeah, because we're not taking an action, there's not going to be a vote, it was just more about hearing some input, and it sounds like this is something that there's significant interest in moving forward.
And with the audit that we paid for, there's nothing that we can do on that, right? Still,
No, the audit was at the full
even though I still
discretion.
don't like that though.
Well, that was the thing, we didn't really have any paper to give the auditor.
Right, all this was in a box,
All this was in a box that so, the
Edit.
reason why the auditor for the forensic review didn't have it is because there was an issue with the taxes being paid. Was it taxes?
Yeah.
What was the other, the city audit?
The city
audit wasn't
annual
completed,
audit,
So that she took all this paperwork and gave it to the auditor.
Yeah.
and that auditor was told not to release those documents to us at that particular time. And so, we didn't have all of this to hand over to the forensic auditor. And so when we got it back and did some digging,
From
this
our
is
normal auditor.
Yes.
correct, from our normal annual auditor.
And he stated that somebody called him and asked to meet him, he didn't even know who they were, asked to meet him at the parking lot at Walmart and handed over a tote full of this paperwork. For what reason, we have no idea. He described the person and couldn't name the person.
I have a question.
Yes, sir?
I recognize that there's no way of seeing the end from this point right here, but is the juice worth the squeeze? What kind of cost is the City of Campbell thinking about in pursuing this, in legal fees and
We don't pay none of that, do we?
Zero.
Zero.
It costs us nothing because it's the county that it does the investigation. The
We've already paid it.
Yeah,
Tax dollars.
we pay it through our taxes. Oh, wait.
And I want to hear because of the thing, these people need to be held accountable
personal expense
This
for
much.
taxes.
And
I was thinking more of what it would cost the city for representation and things of that nature.
And to be honest, I did speak with Mr. Jay Garrett, and we did weigh the pros and cons about talking about this being how this could negatively impact a potential investigation. But we also weighed the idea of having quote unquote a false report, and so we didn't want to file something for the city or move forward without having the city be aware of what was going on and make sure that it's something that they do have substantial belief of. So that's because, I mean, it's not just one person filing a report, it'd be technically the city, so it's a little gray zone, but I just figured with the lack of transparency in the last few mayoral administrations, we would keep this more open, because I don't think it's gonna negatively affect it. It's not like there's an ongoing crime, so this happened 2 years ago, I believe, a year and a half ago, so what's here is here. So that's where we're at. Like I said, this is more of a discussion and more kind of just about wanting to gauge both of city council as well as what the members of the city of Campbell were thinking.
So is there a statute of limitation on that?
It would depend on what they would consider, what crime they'd be charged with, but it's probably 5 years, 7 years. We're not close to the statute of
Wouldn't that
limitation.
be like that to services?
Could be considered, I don't know if it'd be considered, it would depend, this is all speculation, if it's considered petty theft, or if you wanted to chalk them up as everything, it could be considered potentially embezzlement, depending which is a,
But with that total amount, would that be like a grand larceny being the dollar amount?
it could be a felony embezzlement, and I am not super knowledgeable on that, but I do believe once it's over a certain amount, it would be that higher crime, or potentially any amount at all from a city fund like this is considered the highest, which is a felony embezzlement. So I don't quote me on that, but
Yeah.
Tito, come here.
that's something
Tito.
that the district attorney would have to decide. So,
And that's no rewatch.
yes. So, and obviously, there's nothing any of us can do to change that, but we can certainly just give them what we have and let them know that we're open to talk and help out through the process. So, looks like that is something we'll be moving forward.
Move forward with?
Yeah, general consensus of people.
Yes, sir, I think the whole town wants it. Next item?
Time out real quick. So since he's here now, do we need to flip back to the one that we skipped?
We can.
We can certainly, it's pretty short. Do we need to announce it all or anything?
I did talk about it.
Okay.
Presentation by city attorney regarding action items.
Yeah, so this was just something that I wanted to talk to you about, city council, but also, for any questions. Number one, if there are any questions, I'd like them kept very specific and to the point, so we don't get caught up in the weeds. And if there's something you'd like to talk about afterwards, I'd be open to that. And then as far as city council members go, I had spoken with Jay, and I had sat in on a city council up in Cooper, and when there is agenda items, conversation is very specific to the agenda item. It's not going into the weeds, it's getting that, if there's questions, that's fine, but it's not going off topic, and it's more cut and dry about the agenda items. And so I just wanted to, moving forward, keep the agenda more focused instead of getting out and about off of the agenda items. So that's,
Quick chasing squirrels?
that's kind of what
Case in point.
yeah, Jay said to tighten the reins a little bit, and so I just wanted to put it out there that it would, try and moving forward, stay more on agenda.
On topic.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. We really appreciate your guidance here.